Today I'm out on the streets of Helsinki with Oscar Wollsten, a Helsinki-based photographer who has a unique style of street photography. He's mainly working in black and white, using longer exposures to get a surreal feeling to his photos. Besides me interviewing him today, Oscar will also show you some of his favorite spots and how he creates photos.
Tell me a bit about yourself first. How long you've been making photos? What's your background?
I'm Oscar, so I've been doing photography for 6 years now, professionally kind of like 3, and my background was in film directing, so I did a master's degree in that thing and then decided to move to another stable artistic job like photography.
So photography is now your main profession?
Yeah, it has been now for some time. I do a lot of street photography workshops. I instruct groups and different portrait workshops as well. But I mean, on top of that, I do photojournalistic assignments and commission work and some personal projects once in a while. So.
What kind of commission work? Is it like portraiture?
Yeah, they're more like for magazines. So I do this kind of where it depends on the story that they're looking for. So most often when they hire me to do something, I'm asked to do kind of my style, which is black and white, a bit more surreal, but it has to fit to the story. So, for example, one of the stories were about this person's relationship with her mother, who was suffering from Alzheimer's, and these kind of stories where this kind of fading memories sort of start to work, and I have to find like picture solutions for that. But sometimes those assignments can be also just plain color, something a lot more standard, where I have to kind of shift gears and do something else that I normally do.
Yeah. How did you start with photography in overall?
I started actually like it was a kind of a period that I was living in Riga, in Latvia, and I was working on still with sort of film projects and writing scripts. So I needed something just to keep my mind focused on like visual thinking as well. So that's where I started actually with street photography, and it was a way to get to know Riga as well from that point of view. So.
Well, let's head on the streets. You're going to show us some spots where you took some of your favorite photos.
Yeah, I'm going to show some places which are kind of considered maybe more like a training ground, where I often go and practice a little bit different techniques and try to kind of warm myself up. A lot of the times the best pictures maybe come by like, surprise, by like, like just reacting to something, but these are some of the spots I use just to get myself warmed up.
All right, cool. Let's go.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know, something about her look, and also just to use these shapes, what the station gives, it's sort of fun. Plus the zebras on the sidewalk, they always give like the black and white, sort of something good graphic qualities.
So you just said that you started street photography in Riga, but
yeah,
probably there was something that really you got into it, because you're still doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of noticed that by doing it more, I started to get pictures that really resonate with me, and I started to notice that you can sort of express yourself through this medium and through this genre, even without like the stuff that I was used to back in those days, which was to have a film crew, and you still need budgets and actors and whatever. And I could see that I could find like some way how I could sort of a little bit replace that by just trying to capture something that's real and authentic from the street, but also sort of reflects how I see the world. Very often, like if you think about street photographers in general, there are those who are actually documenting the city life and street life, and then those who are actually trying to express something maybe a bit more personal, or their point of view of the world. And I think I belong more to the latter one, because very often you don't even see where my pictures have been taken. And we're going to look at some of those spots, which I basically use the background almost as a kind of canvas, for lack of a better word, to try to get something there. I got hooked into this because I started to see that it's possible just to use the real life on-stage situations and real people as kind of actors, or like, you know, your kind of, how do you say, sort of like
Play.
yeah, kind of,
in a photo,
yeah, in a way, yeah. You can use them as some kind of, basically just the material to create something that you really want to express anyway. So it's that exploration into yourself in a way, that's you know, something like that.
So what kind of gear are you using?
Now I'm using Canon 5D Mark III.
That's an older one.
That's an older one, yeah, and with 28 to 135 millimeter lens, and this is all that I have basically. So every picture that you have seen from me has been taken with this setup, and that's it.
So you haven't still stepped into the mirrorless world?
No, like there are obvious financial restrictions to take that step, but I also think that certain kind of restrictions, like this type of restrictions when it comes to gear, are actually useful, because like if I had every time a chance to buy some new lens when I feel like I'm stuck creatively, then probably you wouldn't see much, you know, development at all, because you're always getting something new, you're replacing it, it's gonna last for a while and then it fades. I mean, that's what I've heard, because I don't really have that information, but in a way I kind of get it, because like there are times when nowadays I think like I would really like to have maybe one really like longer lens, and sometimes I dream of some prime lenses and stuff like that, but I love this camera. I mean, it's so versatile. You can do multi-exposures, you can do all kinds of things that I've nowadays part of what I do. So
if it breaks, would you buy the same camera again?
I think I would actually, yeah. And this was used anyway to begin with, so it was like a few hundred used, so definitely I think I would just take this. Maybe I would upgrade it just for the sake of upgrading it to Mark IV or something. So.
What is your favorite focal length? Do you see that you're using your zoom on the wider or on the telephoto end more?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends. I don't have like kind of favorite that way. I'm just doing whatever like suits the scene or whatever I see that could work there. Very often I go to spots where I find, I try to like locate scenes and spots where I could do many kind of images in one go. So like very often I'm looking for some place where I could actually use the wide end, the long end, maybe you know, then search for opportunities if I can put some movement in it, if it needs that, you know, and all those things. So it really depends. Actually, I can show you one spot which I often use as a kind of warm-up. So here, so this is kind of cool spot in a way, like especially to start the day with. Like, I mean, I often come here because like if you look up there, you can see already like there's a lot of textures on that window. There's always some textures, and people are walking by, they're usually smoking somewhere there. And this is an interesting scene in a way, like, because it depends on light conditions. Like, I mean, if it's hard light, you can see the sun bouncing from the opposite building very well, and it creates these double shadows, which are beautiful to get to this glass. And okay, now it's kind of plain, of course, with overcast light, but for example here, I might start to look for some person to get somewhere there, you know, and it looks quite like sort of, I don't know, a little bit dystopic maybe, but yeah, I mean, this is one of those spots where you can use. Then there's also escalator right next to it, so we have lots of tones here. We have metallic tones and white tones from these things, and we have movement from the escalator if there's someone there. But mainly this thing is about texture and trying to capture some moments where there's hopefully something interesting happening, but at the moment, of course, we're seeing nothing.
Someone coming.
Yeah, nobody's coming, of course.
And, yeah, it's really interesting, like warming up like that.
Yeah.
So I always think that the first hour I'm walking around, I feel like that I'm just like waking up and trying to open my eyes to see more that's happening around me.
Yeah, I think it depends on the kind of what you're going after that day. But like, I mean, sometimes I kind of jump in straight to the action, go in between the people and start to shoot there. But very often I sort of start with something like this, which is really simple, and then sort of get into some kind of vibe, and then you move on.
You don't shoot any film?
Well, when I started, I shot with film a little bit. Like that's where I learned the camera basics. It was my father's old film camera. It's kind of old Minolta, but yeah, nowadays it's only digital, and like partly it's of course like just the practical thing. I mean, I love what film gives, you know, the texture and the latitude, but for me, especially a lot of the times nowadays when I'm doing a lot of experimental work, it would just cost way too much to develop film.
Yeah, the prices are crazy.
Yeah, that's the main reason why to keep doing it. But maybe in the future, I mean, I have dreams, as we all do, and I hope that maybe someday I can get into that world as well and do some darkroom magic. But so far we have to live just with the digital world. But here is actually one spot where I did one of these kind of patchwork series, which are kind of these multi-exposure works. I started the series already in Riga. I've been continuing doing it here. One issue is always with these multi-exposures is to find sort of plain enough backgrounds, but interesting. There would be something where to place a lot of characters. So I'll show you how I basically did it. So I started like building the first right side of the frame from here. So I would go to shoot kind of 4 layers, 1, 2, 3, 4, like this. So for example, people walking here, I would shoot 4 layers all the way going down. Right now we don't have, of course, time to stay here to do it, but I would start there. Then I would go to the other side and block this side of the camera to give that negative space. And then I would build again like another layer there. And then to get a layer that would be in the middle, then you move here and you again block here. So now you have a little bit different perspective and you get kind of a bit more flat image, also the background. And now those together, they create this kind of patchwork. And I got this idea from an actual patchwork when I started thinking like, how would a real patchwork work as a visual style, as a photograph? So that would mean, in my case, of just building small figures, kind of like patches, many, many layers, kind of puzzled together, and those would become these patchworks.
It's really interesting stuff. Thanks for sharing. You're shooting mostly black and white?
Yeah. I don't know, I think there's something with black and white that really was part of that beginning of my beginnings as a photographer, because it was something in that sort of surreal quality of black and white, you know, something that is not how we see the world. It is more like a dream world, and I feel that there's a little bit more chances to explore, let's say, like, because and I've always loved, like, I mean, just monochrome itself, like a black and white monochrome particular, and actually even the color work that I have, they're also very monochromatic. But you know, the thing there is the use of shapes and textures and movement, and to create these dreamlike, otherworldly sort of scenes. That's what's really interesting to me in the first place. So that's why black and white enables that a lot more than color. And plus, besides all of that, I mean, black and white is also really versatile if you think about it, because you have also a chance to create a lot of very classy, elegant, sort of timeless-looking pictures. And of course, you can do that with color too. But one other thing about black and white is that like all those shades of grays are basically kind of like colors. So you still have like wide variety of tones of tonality that you can use to try to tell something. And yeah, that's so. I mean, long answer to a simple question, but
no,
like...
I'm looking for long answers here. Are you doing a lot of post-processing? I see that you have a lot of texture on your images. Are you just shooting through a glass, or are you doing that on post?
I try to keep the post-processing kind of as minimal as possible. I mean, in some pictures you have to go a bit more wild with those and add sharpness and clarity to them. But often I try to keep it so that the edits are actually like 5 to 10 minutes quick edits. So basically what I try to do is that I try to get it first right into the camera, and then the editing is more simple. And that's also one original reason for that was that I wasn't very good in Photoshop to begin with or anything like that. So I just tried to learn to do everything in camera, and that's where actually a lot of these multi-exposures started to happen, and double exposures started to also emerge from just trying to play with what you can, what kind of worlds you can create within the camera, inside the camera. I mean, to me, it does matter if you do it in, for example, if you do double exposure in post or if you do it in camera, it does matter to me because it's kind of like, if you do it here in camera, you're kind of challenging your own vision a bit more because you have to get it right already on the spot.
When you go out, do you have specific thing in your mind? Do you go to look for certain kind of images or moods or layering or whatever, or do you just go out and let the world inspire you at the moment?
Usually it's a bit of both. Like, I mean, very often I might have like some idea that I want to start, especially nowadays. I think it's gone even more than that. That, for example, that I actually start to go and I know already that, okay, today I'm going to be working for those patchworks and then that's going to take me, I don't know, 2 hours to get something out of it. But in the beginning it was just everything, like just to see whatever is there, whatever streets can offer you. But like, yeah, later in these days, it is a bit more that, yeah, you get some idea, you start to work on it. Very often it doesn't work to begin with, so you kind of abandon it, and then you'll be lucky enough, hopefully, to be surprised by something that, yeah, the streets just give you. Because and very often, like that's I think one of the most beautiful things to me about street photography is that you can have a great idea or whatever, but very often real life gives it that extra boost to make it like great idea, kind of like, and it gives you something that you couldn't envision before, and that's really exciting. But of course it works the other way too. Sometimes you just think something could work and then you just fail miserably, and that's just part of it. But yeah, this is where very often what I try to do is that every week that I have like maybe one day where I am actually thinking about, okay, today I'm going to work on this idea or this series or this thing, and then maybe I have 2 other days where I just roam around and shoot whatever comes my way. So it's a bit of both. So I just want to tell you this story because it's kind of funny. Sometimes you get these encounters that are very unexpected. So for example, right there you see this alley, which is now under construction. But one day I was shooting here last year, and it was a sunny, pretty day. I was starting my day, a bit like we were there earlier, like just warming up. And I saw that there's this puddle on that alleyway, on that pathway, and it had been raining on the previous night. And I thought, like, okay, I'm gonna start to do these typical puddle shots. And I brought the camera down to the puddle and started to shoot. And maybe after a couple of seconds, I got this guy tapping on my shoulder, and I was checked, and he was this homeless guy. He said that, you know, I know the person who created that puddle. I was like, it's not water? No, it's piss. And it was made by Rita, who is right there, and I just saw her do it like 45 minutes ago. So I just wanted to tell you that you're shooting piss. I was like, okay, thanks. And he was like, can you take a picture of me? And I said, well, if you go there, I can use the pool of urine to take your portrait. And he was like, oh, that's perfect. We'll call it Pisshead. So that was the origin story of how Pisshead came to be. And I sent it to the guy, and he was very happy with it. So just this kind of little fun fact. Another funny story here that happened the other day when I was shooting. So I saw this guy with the black hat and black trench coat and suitcase, and he looked really elegant from afar. So I took his picture, and he turned to me and said, "Did you take my picture?" I said that, yeah. And he said that if you're going to publish it, there's going to be consequences. And before I could answer, he just walked away. So of course I thought, like, okay, this guy has some serious mental issues. And 2 weeks roll by, so I open up a newspaper, and I see that, wait a minute, same hat, same suitcase, same face, same coat. It turned out to be mayor of Helsinki. So you never know who you're going to encounter here on the streets. He might still be insane, though.
How often do you go for a photo walk?
Yeah, let's say average 3 to 5 days a week, and then the rest of the days you edit and you do other things, of course, between. But I try to get at least like a short one.
Do you like to shoot alone, or do you go out shoot with a friend?
I usually always shoot alone. Like, I mean, there's of course sometimes when I have someone like with me, we're going to shoot, but mostly it's more like drinking coffee and hanging out type of thing. But like when you're really shooting, I do it mostly alone, and then of course I have quite often those workshops. So sometimes I take the group, or then one-on-ones, I go with them. So that's of course another thing. But
so it seems like you're a little bit more a slow-paced photographer than fast-paced. You walk slowly, you take your time to look at the scene and
Yeah.
looking for a good subject.
Yeah, usually that's the case. Sometimes I of course react also if I see something really interesting, but very oftentimes I do more of this kind of fishing technique in that sense that I am choosing a spot and like even if it's a very crowded spot, like let's say there's a lot of people, but still I like to shoot in a kind of slow paced way. Plus, yeah, like it's still important, you know, like the subject that you're trying to capture, like that you would get. Well, I mean, just the chance that you're going to get like an ideal subject walking in like straight away, it's quite rare. I mean, that's when you get lucky. I mean, and a lot of my stuff is based on that kind of idea of like sort of luck meets preparation, so that you have like some idea, something happens, you see someone interesting that fits that idea, and then you react to it.
Yes, your style is more artistic than the majority of street photographers.
Yeah.
Like many people react to something that what's happening around them, so they just quickly grab a photo. For example, I myself, I'm I'm a bit more leaning on that direction, but you are expressing yourself artistic.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of what you're looking for. I mean, I'm not like, I mean, even if let's say, I think the thing is that like, I mean, people of course interpret your pictures, and I hope to create images that would resonate in that way that you could interpret them. It's also important to me, but at the same time, I'm not like walking here all the time just thinking like the transient nature of life all the time and like all doom and gloom. I mean, I think it's just because it's already there within. You don't have to kind of search for it. So it's more like that you just show up and it happens in a way. So that's the thing. But
so it's the Finnish mentality that speaks in your photos. It's doomy and gloomy and dark and grim.
yeah, I think well in that sense, yeah. I mean, maybe I would like I'll try to always sprinkle a little bit of sort of some kind of magic there that it gives maybe a little glimmer of hope, but I mean, but yeah, a lot of it is like the work is it just tends to be like that. And actually, to the previous question about why black and white, I mean, black and white is very good. Well, just the style to create that thing and to create those moods. I mean, creating mood is a lot what goes on. Like, I mean, I think a lot of photographers, which is also cool, like they're looking for more like, you know, scenes, maybe scenes from a cafeteria or something like that. But for example, even in this case, another maybe street photographer would be shooting at those people in the cafe or, you know, something like that. But I'm actually trying to shoot that reflection here, and just to flip it. I mean, it's not like the most original picture, of course, here, but like it is just something that, well, it's just something that like kind of then it's a bit more interesting to me, like something like looking for more like stuff like this. And actually there's another one just there.
Did you ever think that now I will start to shoot more artistic way, or is it something that comes just really naturally?
I don't think it was that. I mean, honestly, like, I mean, really how all this stuff, like, I mean, I do a lot of this so-called ICM, you know, intentional camera movement stuff. But I mean, a lot of that work started just out of frustration to my own work. I mean, because I started to get tired of the way I shoot, and like it was actually like a bit more like these type of scenes. So if you always just do these type of scenes, you start to get a little bit anxious, and you start to feel like that. Okay, well, what's the point of all this? So one day I started to kind of jerk the camera around in a way, just with slow shutter, just to see what happens. So that's how that got started. And then when I noticed, like, okay, well, with these accidents, like if I would just craft it, you know, like if I would go intentionally to do the intentional camera movement, then there might be something there, and then it like opened the door to this whole nother sort of world where the style started to go more from the kind of let's say, classical, whatever you want to call it, fine art, street photography, to something more experimental. I want to be really free with that style. I mean, I don't want to set in that way more restrictions than I already have with the, let's say, gear and my own mind. But like, yeah, I want to be that way, that I don't want to think about like some like something like rules of, you know, street photography, what you shouldn't do and what you should do, and you know, who should you know, listen, and all these gatekeepers. The thing that keeps it interesting is the expressive part of doing this. Like that when you find the new idea, that's what really excites you. You know, you can have like days and weeks of just repeating yourself and doing kind of sort of the mundane work, even with all these techniques and everything. At some point you have done, it feels like you have done it all, and then when you figure out something new, that's where it really it lasts. That feeling gives you life for, you know, like weeks in, because it's just it's a special thing, and it doesn't happen very often. But like when it does, that's why you do it for. That kind of jolt of some kind of idea and energy and something, just when everything just clicks, and then it really feels that in those moments it really does feel like you're, you know, expressing yourself.
Yeah, I would even say that the in-camera movement and slow shutter speed, a long exposure, it's your trademark, kind of.
Yeah, nowadays especially, I think that and those multi-exposures and everything like that, those are the things that people know me from nowadays. But yeah, it is like I told, like it's kind of, if you just repeat that same thing, like it starts to get, well, repetitive, and then you always try to kind of find that new spark, like what really keeps you going.
What's your favorite time of the day and favorite time of the year to go out and take photos?
I don't think I really have that way. I mean, I think out of just necessity, I end up shooting a lot of times, like during something from, you know, noon to 4 o'clock or something like that. But I mean, there's some days where I also try to go towards the sunset hours and magic hours and those things. But yeah, it kind of depends on the day. Like a cloudy day like this, where it's overcast, I would be probably shooting at this time normally anyway, because there's still, even if it maybe doesn't look like it, there's still a lot of light that comes through the clouds. So you can try to utilize it, and even with, like, yeah, if you're doing like slow shutter work or something like that, you at least have plenty of light.
What's your hit rate? Do you always get something when you go out, or is it like months or weeks sometimes that you feel like there's nothing coming out?
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking about hit rate of getting kind of decent images, that's sort of course, higher as time goes by, so you get to react to a lot of situations quicker, and like, yeah, getting good shots like per day, you can get couple, but like, I mean, those ones that you really like and really resonate, like all the stuff that I was talking earlier about, the kind of work that resonates and the type of things that where you're looking for that spark to happen, those come really rarely. I mean, but like, yeah, I would say that every month I get something that I'm happy with. Okay, that's also kind of funny thing, because some days are like that, you know. You get like, you can have like a day where you get like, I don't know, 5 shots where you really, like, those are the best shots of the whole month. And then there are going to be days and days where nothing happens, and you get to that thing that we talked earlier about, like where, yeah, nothing seems to work out. Like, even if you're, I mean, they are kind of working out, but it's just like not interesting to you anymore.
How selective are you with your own photos? Are you yourself your biggest critic?
I'm sure I have bigger critics than myself. No, but like, well, you can kind of see it from my Instagram post in that way, that I post like maybe once, twice a month. So it's, compare that to the amount that I'm actually taking pictures and time that I'm actually using to do this. Of course, it is quite small amount that you end up seeing published. So yeah, in that way I am selective. This spot for me is another example where I'm trying to just use, if you look at this, it's just a wall. I mean, it's a flat wall with texture, and that's what I'm interested in. There's texture, there's flatness. It's almost like a canvas, right? So it's almost like a studio wall to me. And then what you're trying to do is try to capture something interesting that way, of like And what I mean with that is that you're finding a subject that really matches this scene and this technique, and that's what you're looking for. And this kind of thing also like forces you to be really close to people also. So it's no.
People don't even realize that you're taking a photo because you're making the movement.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and you know, like people just start to laugh, or you know, because they're like wondering what is this guy doing. And actually, like I have had some workshops where, like, there's a participant whose camera is too good, kind of, to do this kind of movements.
Yeah,
because the engine inside doesn't understand. It doesn't understand why are you like flipping the camera around. So it's a kind of and that another reason why to like prefer these old heroes like.
What about getting close to people? Do you ever feel nervous about getting close and taking
photos? Not
photos?
anymore. No, like I mean, of course, like if you see already from afar that someone like looks at you a certain way, then you probably shouldn't take that picture in the first place. But other than that, it's not an issue. Oh, it's getting there.
Warming up.
Yeah, I mean that's the kind of thing. Like I mean, you like let's say with the ICM stuff, like where you're actually flipping the camera using slow shutter, like in that way the hit rate is always like in some sense it has to be also like 3 times less than like normal. Like let's say if you're
it's really difficult.
Yeah, it's a lot more difficult to kind of land those shots. But yeah, you know, like that. So that's like in a normal conditions. If we're just talking about some simple silhouettes on a staircase or something like that, of course you can shoot them all the time, or like what we did there with those flips, those reflection flips. Like you can get them almost every time, like out there. But with these things, there is a lot of hit and miss. Like I mean,
and of course it's the longer the focal length, the harder it is to do the in-camera movements.
Yeah, because if you're using the like longer end to this, that's a bit closer. But like the thing is that like if you're using the longer end with the focal length, you just add so much more movement to the picture. Like with like right now, like when I'm here and I'm so close to the people, I'm trying to use the wide end, so I'm using 28 here to do this movement, because otherwise you kind of it's an overkill.
Do people ever get like scared or think that you're attacking them while doing those quick movements?
I hope so. I want there to be like a little bit of danger, in what we do. But actually, that is something very strange that I've noticed from myself. That some days when I'm shooting, I almost need that angst. Like you need, you're almost like a, yeah.
You feel like agitating people?
Well, not really. I mean, I don't want to go to someone's face and give them a heart attack or something. But like kind of the energy that you're giving yourself, almost like you're kind of like, what you're trying to do is you're almost like kind of forcing something out of yourself. Like that's maybe something that, I mean, I don't mean that it should be somehow violent towards other people, but it's a kind of energy that you're trying to pull out. But at the same time, it has to be said, like, I mean, very rarely like people kind of end up saying anything. And maybe that's the thing, like with this energy that I was talking about. Maybe it's also kind of almost like a protection to myself, like trying to almost look intimidating when I'm doing this, so people would leave me alone and let me do like, I don't know, 20 takes.
That's funny, because usually people say that they try to be very like soft and easy, smiling and giving compliments.
Yeah, I mean, I do that also. Like sometimes when there's a reason for that, like when I see something, like someone actually has like I don't know, cool jacket or something like this, and if they ask me like, why are you shooting, then I tell them like, you just have a really great jacket and you look interesting, you have an interesting profile or whatever, stuff like that. But I mean, then other times you just kind of want to keep working and be kind of left alone, so you try to almost like kind of disappear. So that's why you kind of just do the movements quickly, and you kind of stand your feet, and that's it.
Have you ever had an encounter on the streets where you felt threatened, or did you ever have any violence towards you or something?
No, not like, I mean, maybe we get lucky today, but like, but not that way that I would actually feel like that my life is in danger. Once I remember there was one.
No one physically attacked you.
No one physically attacks me, and but like of course now when I say it, the next time you see me, it's broken ribs and bruised nose. But like once I had this one encounter with the older lady in Riga. I mean, she was wearing this very beautiful kind of white costume, and she was walking up the stairs, and I took her photo. And she just completely, and it wasn't like anything like, you know, flipping around or something like this. She just got really angry, and like I didn't understand the language, of course, but like she just kept shouting like insults to me that I mean, so that was a thing. But like even there, I was like kind of thinking that okay, now I just have to stand my ground, kind of like that. If I let her in a way win because I'm not doing anything wrong or criminal here, then that's a loss for myself. So I just stood there, took it for 5 minutes. She was yelling, and then she got tired and walked away. So, but, you know.
Yeah, now that I watch you working here, people don't even care.
Yeah.
No one even like gave you any look here.
No. I mean, I think it's more like
just walking by. No one cares.
Yeah, it's more like if you're like really nervously fidgeting around and you're kind of like trying to hide and I think people will notice that a lot more than like that you're actually here and you're just kind of open for them to talk. Like if they want to open that, you know, conversations, you're kind of there. So, but I think they kind of see that you're just like focused trying to do something that is not really maybe about them even because we're here standing here and we're flipping the camera around and we're here before and after they leave. So.
Who is a photographer that you look up to, or photographers that you look up to, and who have inspired you?
Especially in the early days, it was of course those classic names like Cartier-Bresson and Ray Metzger and André Kertész, and like his this kind of really surreal.
I think I see a lot of Trent Park.
And also. Trent Park, yeah, like Trent Park was the next one after those. Like I mean, there was like those first and those kind of Van Hoes and those guys, and then. You got excited about like Trent Park, Alexei Titarenko, these kind of photographers who are doing something a bit similar to what we're doing here. But yeah, I would say those. But like also, I mean, Sebastian Salgado, big one, Matt Black, Alex Webb. Even if you don't see it from my work, but like I mean, like I just really like his layering and colors.
Yeah, I was just about to say the layering. Is probably the.
And Harry Gryert and those guys, a lot of the Magnum photographers in general.
In the Street Life podcast where you visited a couple of years ago, you said that you shoot a lot with intuition.
Yeah.
Mind opening that a little, what do you mean by that?
I think it's just that you're kind of intuitively trying to find the scene in a way. So like there's something in the, let's say, how the light takes you, you know, like you walk on a bright sunny day and you just start to take those streets where you've never taken before, and then something stops you, you know, something stops you at your feet and you start to look around and you kind of don't see it immediately what it is, maybe. I mean, you kind of realize there's something here, but your intuition is kind of telling you to stop and start working, but you don't quite know yet why, you know. Like finding like maybe new spots to shoot or something like that. There's something intuitively telling me that here's a good shot, you just don't have it yet. Or, you know, like return to this spot to like go back and work on this idea, like maybe it'll give you a good shot by the end. So that's kind of the thing. And I think it's just like actually subconscious thing, you know, like it's just something that somehow part of you is ahead of you, you know, but what you like logically understand, you emotionally already feel it. I think actually in some sense, like if we're talking about intuition, this is one of those spots that has a little bit something like that, because we have seen here, then if we look there, you see those distortions through that glass. So there's like another scene here just next to it. And then you talked earlier to me about those blizzard pictures that I took that are a bit more like kind of timeless type of images. I was just working here or something, and then that happens. And I think that's also kind of part of this kind of street photography magic in a way, that you maybe go out and you shoot something simple like this, and then yeah, like a blizzard comes, and then you're here, you're ready, and then you get to use the this surrounding. So it was almost like something in you drew you here, and then life surprises you.
Have you had any plans of making a zine?
No, not really. I mean, I was thinking about it, like making it from some kind of project, but I think I've kind of abandoned that idea for now. But who knows what the future brings.
Now that you mentioned the word project, you had a project about homeless people a few years ago.
Yeah.
How did that happen? How to decide how to start shooting, and where and when? And
Well, I mean, originally it was like I wanted to challenge myself to make some kind of documentary project. Then when I was thinking about topics, there was one that kept coming back to me, because I had tried to write something in a script form about this idea, and it was about these street-based social workers whose clients are homeless people and people with memory illnesses, and well, people in general who need help, who are on the streets. So that kind of kept nagging me, because I got really interested in their job, and that whole idea that I wanted to get to know also those people who are doing this work personally, just to ask them like why, what keeps them, doing it, and what kind of backgrounds they have. And it was interesting to see that they had very different backgrounds, all those. Yeah, and originally, I mean, the whole idea, I think, came from the story that my father told, what happened to him when he was like 5 years old. So he was playing on the ice in Katajanokka, and he fell through it, and he thought that he's going to die. He was going under the water already, and then he felt his hand going to his neck, and it threw him back to the ice, on the surface of the ice. And it was a homeless man who saved him, and he said one sentence. He said, "Run to your home," and and my father listened to it and ran to the home. And but somehow it stayed with me. Like when you hear something like that, like I think this homeless guy was probably a war veteran. Like in those times, there was a lot of those guys around, like drinking by the sea, and all of that. And I think after when I heard that story, I always, like even to this day, whenever I see someone who is in that position, I start to wonder, like what's their story? How did they end up there? So that project came about like that, like so when I was looking for something, I was interested in the social workers' jobs. I had this background, this connection myself to this theme, and then those things merged, and I realized that instead of writing a script from it, I could do a extensive kind of photo project. And we luckily managed to get like funding for the exhibition. And originally the idea was to do both exhibition and a photo book, but after 3 years of applying funds for the book, it still hasn't happened, and I don't know if it will. But like, I mean, hope so. But like, there has been this one idea that I've been throwing around once in a while, that I've been thinking that what if, like, when there's enough time between the ending of the first project, what if I would go back to the streets and continue it? Go do a kind of volume 2 of these encounters and see if anything has changed on the streets. And most likely it hasn't, but also that's the kind of point. And that could be dramatic and interesting. And if I'll go through with it, I'll probably start like either next year or then 6 years from now, because I want it to be either 5 years or 10 years between the first part.
That's really interesting, because there's always an ongoing topic in street photography about taking photos of homeless people, or somehow people who are in a misfortune. At least that's a really proper way to do it.
Yeah, I mean, and of course in those...
Not just exploiting.
No, and in that project, that was the kind of beauty of it, that we also, of course, we had to ask from everyone their permission to participate in it and everything, but also just to see the amount of joy that the project actually gave to people. Like, I mean, to the social workers, to the homeless themselves. Like, I mean, they were showing some of the portraits that I was doing from them. They were like showing their friends, like, look, I look like a rock star, and you know, like, then it just made their day, and you know, and as a kind of photographer, that's kind of the best, in a way, reward you can get from it. Is just that you gave something back to them. And actually, one really touching thing happened like last year. One of the main pictures of this project is this lady with very distinctive features on her face, and she was the kind of main kind of the biggest work in the exhibition as well. So her daughter actually reached out to me like a year ago and said that unfortunately she has passed away now, but she found this picture that I took from her of the project, and she had kept it on her nightstand all these years, you know, as a kind of honorary picture. And that was really moving to hear, you know, it meant so much to her, you know, and that's the thing, like with these pictures, that, like, I mean, we shoot them, we don't always, of course, see these, what pictures resonate with who and which pictures work with for whatever reason. But like, for example, just to hear that, like, I mean, that was so moving. That and also the daughter said that, like, she hadn't seen the mother for 15 years, so she wanted to thank me because there was like now a memory of her from her kind of last part of the life, let's say. So yeah, really moving and beautiful. And I remember that she herself, when she saw her picture in the exhibition, she was in tears. And so there's a lot of tears in these kind of projects. But like, I mean, that's it's beautiful.
It's beautiful, and it's life.
Yeah.
Do you have any projects that you're running now or planning to do in the future?
Well, I've kind of won this sort of, it's more like a street photography project where it's called like this series of fragments where I'm like, where I'm actually using a small mirror to do it. But yeah, like so that's kind of one project that I'm doing, that's where I'm kind of trying to show the sort of world as a very fractured place, and sort of, and it's again one of those ways how where I'm looking for those kind of happy accidents, let's say, because when you're using that kind of fragmented, very fractured mirror surface as your main kind of component there, it's quite magical what it creates, you know, and how fragmented the frame becomes and how layered it becomes, and that's kind of really interesting to me. And it feels like it's maybe telling something also about this time. I mean, of course, like this, in a way, the symbolism is sort of obvious with the, you know, fragmentation and fragmented mirrors, mirroring broken society and so on and so on. But like, still, there's something like that kind of additional theme around it that's interesting to me to explore. And I think there's ways to keep developing and go further with it and keep pushing it. So that's kind of something personal, but I don't know if it's gonna turn into any kind of book or a zine or something. But that's something. And then of course I have those smaller series, like I told earlier about that patchwork thing, and I have one small series which is called like kind of Sleepwalkers, where I'm trying to capture people sleepwalking basically, and they're, you know, like their eyes are closed and it looks like they're dreaming. Those are also kind of good for me to go to start to shoot the days if I don't know, like if I don't feel like just wandering around sort of aimlessly, then I'll start with one of those ideas and try to find something that continues those series.
Do you think that projects are important thing to do?
Well, yes. I mean, I think it's good that if you figure out like a good project for yourself. I mean, this one, for example, this series of fragments, very different from that Encounters, which was the documentary project. So it's very, very different. But I think one good thing is that it gives you kind of a framework. But to that same point, I think it's equally important that whatever you shoot in a way could extend your body of work, you know, because like you're looking at, if you look at your entire body of work from afar, kind of, that's also important that you can see that these kind of pictures belong next to each other. So I think, you know, in some sense, this whole life and career as a kind of street photographer is one big project, because it just ends when you die, basically. That's how I think about it. Happy thoughts again, right?
It's a Finnish state of mind. What is the most interesting thing now in photography that you are like constantly thinking or doing?
I think it's like I told earlier about that, like trying to find that spark, like that what makes a picture special, I am aware that there's a kind of almost like obsessive quality to this thing. I mean, it's like that you're out here every day almost like trying to find something, and it's hard to even put to words what exactly it is, but you just know that you have to do it. So
Do you think that street photography should always have people in the photo?
no, not necessarily. I mean, there's a lot of beautiful pictures that don't have anyone there. I mean, it's like Harry Grier has some of those, and like generally speaking, I think a lot of the rules are sort of a bit like pointless. I mean, like if the rules are only, I mean, restrictions are good, but limitations are not so good. Like in that way. It's good that you have some kind of restrictions coming, but like if you limit yourself on the basis of like, okay, you're not supposed to do this because it's not part of this genre, I think that's silly and kind of quite useless. Yeah, if you would ask me what street photography is, I would say that it's unstaged photography that portrays the vision of the photographer, like the way how he sees or she sees the world. That's the point of it. Like I mean, and if you look at like even like the old masters when it comes to Cartier-Bresson, to Trent Park, to Titarenko, to Alex Webb, to whatever, like this. These guys have like very different styles from each other in a way. I mean, there's obviously the unstaged quality that's in each of their work that's present, but like there's also, I think it's in some sense it's almost like a little bit deceptive, the term street photography that way, because it's like, yeah, you do it on the street, but it's actually how you see the world. Like, I mean, that's the point. I mean, in a way, and it means that it's not like without any influences or anything like that. But that's what you should be driving for, or driving towards, is to get like images that look your own and the way you see this world.
Well, what's your take on social media then? Because people mostly think that you have to be on social media to be acknowledged as a street photographer.
The tricky part there is that, like, at least in my case, I want to present work that I'm happy with, like the work that I want to share. But that means that it's posting basically once or twice a month. It's not like you can't do it every day, but that means also that you're not getting maybe the following that you could, because you're not like active, and those algorithms, they tend to favor something that's kind of similar to something that people have already seen. Like that's just how it is. So it's a tricky part, but I think everyone kind of needs to have some kind of representation in social media nowadays. But I'm not sure if your whole point of doing this is just posting every day something. At least in my case, that sounds kind of nightmarish, almost like that you just burn out because you're just all the time putting stuff out there, and you're all the time getting some kind of feedback, whether you want it or not. So
have you participated in any photo competitions?
Mostly just those free ones, like Lens Culture and those where you can just send something for free. In the earlier days when I was starting out, then I was sending more to those things, but I would notice that it would always be the kind of same thing, that you just like end up getting like, I don't know, you send 2 pictures and 2 pictures get finalist position, and then it's like, oh, all right, it's like I kind of didn't get anything from it, but I can imagine if you would use competitions more as a kind of feedback thing, that if you have like good judges, why not participate? Like sometimes I do, like if there's some great judge, like of course I would like that person to see my work.
Yeah, and if they give some feedback.
Yeah, and if they give some
Sometimes
feedback, or if you're willing to pay a little bit. I haven't done it yet, but like maybe I'll do it someday if I feel like I would need some external feedback from whatever series or something, then maybe.
You've had some exhibitions before. Are you planning to make more? What's your feeling
there was
about those?
Yeah, I mean exhibitions. I have had so far just two. The first one was a group exhibition, and then the second one was this Encounters, this documentary project that I told about, and that was really great. But yeah, I mean I have sometimes applied for, like, I have like kind of one set of photos that could make a kind of good exhibition sort of series for that. But yeah, I didn't get the funds, so I got it twice already. So I guess now I have to wait for, I don't know how many years before I get the third one. So that's just how it works here. But yeah, but like, yeah, nothing actively at the moment. I'm not like thinking about, if there's some curator or gallerist who are interested in this kind of stuff, reach out. I'm sure we can figure out something.
Do you have any favorite photos that you've taken on the streets? Some like top 3 photos that you think that are the absolute top of your work? Or is it just a huge mass of photos on the hard drive?
I don't know, it's so difficult to answer. I don't know, like this, when you get that something which feels that time when you get it, like that it gives you something, those are kind of your favorites just for the sake of that feeling, you know, that because you created that time when you really needed it, they become kind of favorites that way. But like if you objectively try to look at your own work, those are probably not even the best pictures that you have taken. So I think in general, I think it's more like it's better for people, you know, like let the audience be the judge in a way. Like I don't know. Another little story time here, like, you know, like I had been already, like, I don't know, like maybe a couple of weeks feeling a little bit like you know, you're repeating yourself too much, you're shooting kind of the similar takes, and you feel like you're not really getting those new ideas where that new like fuel, that spark comes. And I'd been shooting that day like 4 days 4 hours already in a row, and I was like kind of feeling tired. I thought like I'm just gonna go home. And then I walked like past here, and then I saw this, and I thought like, well, that's interesting. Like, I mean, you can see it's kind of painted black already. And I thought like, okay, what if there would be people like, you know, walking around this circle? So I took a shot of this as a layer, and then I went to Kamppi and took a top-down shot of those people there. And that's called those annual rings that I did. But like, I mean, and it's actually one example of those things that I know that it's probably not in that sense like some of my best work, but it was really important that day that I got this, you know. That seemed so like exciting that even after that 4 hours of shooting, I still end up like shooting 2 hours more just to get like variations on this scene. Those kind of things are kind of reminders for yourself, like, you know, like why you do this, because, you know, like you need that kind of stuff where you get excited again about all of it. So yeah.
Do you ever, like when you go out with people to take photos, is it more like drinking and having fun?
Yeah,
and chatting and
yeah, it's just boozing. No, I mean, yeah, it is more like social event. It's not like just like what we're doing kind of now here. I mean, it's like, because I usually when I'm shooting alone, like, I mean, I might stay in one spot like for 1.5 hours or, you know, something like that. And it's also, yeah, like styles have to match, and I think also temperaments that way, that, you know, I like to take my time. I like to very often when I'm working on a scene, I like to get like, I don't know, 3 good ones before I move on. And then there are guys who just like want to do really quick, snap a couple of takes and see what comes and move on. But like for me, it's like kind of, I like to take my time. I like that we might take some route like together, but very rarely there's like real intention to get like pictures. Sometimes, I mean, like I have published sometimes some pictures that I've taken while we have been walking together with a friend here. But let's say 95% of the time it is more a social thing, and then when I'm alone, that's where I'm kind of parking the bus, let's say, to a certain spot, and then trying to milk that scene. Oh, something interesting here. There's lots of backpacks. I generally speaking dislike backpacks a lot, you know. It's, backpacks, phones, scoots, maybe even bikes, you know. And actually during summertime, shorts, those are horrible for my style, you know, when people are wearing shorts, because like, I mean, if you're trying to create something mystic or, you know, something with otherworldly, some guy with shorts and, you know, slippers doesn't look really exciting. So that's one issue. And during the winter times, you know, those hats which has those big fluffy balls, I hate those things.
What have you learned through photography? What is the biggest thing you've learned? Or is there one?
I think there is. I mean, there's plenty of lessons when it comes to what you can learn on the street. I think one of the main things for me, if you look at where I started, was that yeah, like the biggest kind of limitation is actually in a way your mind. I mean, that is almost like the main thing that you can take away. Is that like there's plenty of opportunities and possibilities. You just have to see them. And that's also the thing, like kind of, I mean, I understand when I feel that same thing too, and sometimes it feels like, you know, the city starts to feel small and you start to feel like you have seen everything. But at the same time, you know, that's the kind of point, you know, you see these same streets over and over again, and it's how you find something new to them. That's really the key, I think. And that's, I think, something you learn just by doing and keep grinding it and, you know, trying to find different solutions. The thing is that, like, if you want to keep doing this, I mean, you have to be in a way comfortable with situations where there's pressure and where there's people looking at you and asking what you're doing, and then it's just about like being honest to them and to yourself and all that. And I think you get sort of numb to it. You don't get the anxiety anymore what you had in the beginning of going close to people, because then you have already enough experiences which you have like been able to not get killed, you know. So you have enough experience where to draw from. So like you have a kind of, and as long as you're honest with what you're doing, I don't think there's rarely any bigger issue anyway. So.
Do you see street photography changed in the past 5 years or so when you've been doing it a lot?
I mean, maybe I would like to think this just because the style I'm doing, but maybe I would like to think that it has become a bit more open-minded in that way of what is, you know, street photography. But at the same time, there has been, of course, some, you know, influences who are trying to kind of muddy the waters of what this thing means, and you know, and I don't know if it has changed the bigger general perception, but when it comes to the maybe to the art form of this thing, I think, well, at least I hope. I don't know if there's any basis to it, but maybe I hope that the change has been exactly this thing, that this genre can, you know, bend to many things. You know, it can be flexible enough to have many kind of styles included in this and many kind of visions to be included, so that it is not only about, like, you know, people reading newspapers in cafeterias type of thing. Even if those are very beautiful pictures, sometimes when someone can do it very well, but like, you know, still that there are like pockets to this genre. Yeah, not so bad. Actually, it's alright.
Yeah. Do you have any advice to younger photographers who are just starting, or maybe even people who have been doing it for a while but are struggling?
Yeah, well, I mean, one advice I would say is not to listen to advices. But like, I mean, but really one advice I would say is not to listen to anyone who says absolutes, you know. So that's one advice. But like another advice could be that yeah, just work hard in a way. Like, I mean, just keep shooting and keep experimenting, and I mean, don't get discouraged by bad pictures, because we all take them all the time, every day. It can't be like constant, you know, success, and learn to enjoy those moments where you actually capture something beautiful and value it and shoot to yourself, you know, like do this for yourself. Like, I mean, if you're doing it for the reasons of, I don't know, some social media success or for those crazy people who think that there's some money involved, you know, there isn't really much. So it's better that like you do it anyway, and that's the point, you know. Yeah, do it anyway.
So I think that is all for today. At least I don't have any more questions. Do you have something to say?
No, nothing much, except like
Where people can find you?
You can find me from Instagram, from my website. You can find a bit more stories about my projects there. Yeah, follow me on Instagram. You can the Finnish-speaking and people who live in Finland anyway. Those guys you can reach out for workshops. And yeah, I hope you all got something inspiring out of this. And I don't know, keep working, keep shooting, and don't be afraid to experiment.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
This was super. Thank
Thanks.
you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.